Let's now get the latest news from Jagersfontein in the Free State. Today, Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe has been visiting, and he's been pointing to a 2007 judgment which relates to the mine. Now, that judgment said the facility was no longer a mine. And that, of course, means that the Department of Mineral and Energy Affairs had no clear jurisdiction over it. So let's get the very latest on what is happening in that community since the dam wall collapsed on Sunday. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu is in the area. He joins us now. So, Manqoba, some good news on the water and electricity supply. Just briefly update us how things are going for the community.
Well, Sally, so far what we're hearing, and this is from the briefing that was held by Minister Gwede Mantashe earlier today, is that the electricity in this community will be restored later tonight. That's a commitment that is given to community members. Of course, you recall, Sally, that since Sunday, residents here have been in the dark due to the fact that some of the substation had been covered in sludge. But we do understand that government as well as eNCA have been working to try and resolve this particular issue. So the guarantee from the minister is that they will have electricity by tonight. But as far as water is concerned, we're hearing reports that there is water that has been restored as far as the town is concerned here in Jagersfontein. But sadly here where we are in Charlesville, and this is one of the areas that have been hardest hit by this flooding, where houses have been destroyed, we're still hearing reports from some of the community members that water is still not being restored in this particular area.
Right.
Sadly, we did see the dam that supposedly feeds one of these areas. It's also been covered in sludge. So we are yet to hear when exactly the issues of water in this community will be resolved. But safe to say that we have seen quite a number of water trucks that are servicing community members and that are trying to really ensure that there is water supply in this particular area.
Yes, and you've also been explaining to me that in terms of the death toll, it's still officially only one person, though we know that there are probably 2 or 3 more people missing, and that the estimate of the numbers of people homeless, it's still ranging sort of from 300 to 500, and those people still being housed in community halls. Gwede Mantashe, the Minerals Minister, was visiting the area today. He spoke specifically about who he believes should be accountable, pointing to an interesting judgment in 2007. Tell us about that.
Indeed, Sally, and the judgment, what it stipulates, Sally, is the fact that a mine that has, started, being, processing tailings, can no longer be considered a mine, and therefore that particular mine falls out of the jurisdiction of the Department of Mineral and Resources. And he says that, according to that judgment, as a department, they do not have any jurisdiction. And so this is really what has stopped the department from coming here and doing maintenance, as well as just checking in terms of how this mine is being maintained by those who own it. He says that this now falls with the Department of Water and Sanitation, given that the issue of processing of, the tailings dam is a jurisdiction of that particular department. So this is the reason why the department has not intervened, despite numerous calls and complaints by community members for it to intervene in this particular matter. But as far as accountability is concerned, Mantashe quite clear, Sally, saying that the company that has taken over this particular processing will need to take full responsibility for this. They'll need to take accountability. And as far as this is concerned, this means that Jagersfontein Developments, as well as Star Gems Investments, which is a Dubai company that has bought this mine, will need to take responsibility for what has happened here. But of course, it says that as a department, they are also looking into the issue. They've launched an investigation to look at what really happened. There will also be an inquiry that will look as to what really transpired in this particular mine. But take a listen to what he had to say regarding the issue of accountability.
The slimes dam belong to the mine, not the department. And therefore, at the time it said, DPS is the owner. So whoever owns it now is a legal successor to DPS. Therefore, they will take responsibility. In anywhere, wherever there is a disaster in a mine take responsibility of that disaster. If you want to trace the history of disasters, look at the Kinross disaster, look at the Vaal Reef disaster, look at the Sendelina disaster, look at the Hlobane disaster. All those disasters were handled by the respective mines. That's what happens in a disaster. But the state comes in and lends its hand to help find a solution to the problem. We don't wash our hands and say, it is not our responsibility. We're here, we'll work with the company, we must find a solution to this disaster. It's quite a big disaster.
The mine itself, or the people who own the tailings dam and have been remining it, they've also spoken today. What are they saying?
Well, the mindset is saying that they will take full responsibility for what happened there because this happened in their own company. But as far as some of the allegations that have been leveled, allegations that there was gross negligence involved as far as this disaster is concerned, the mine saying that they need to allow investigations to continue. They have appointed a team of experts to look into what really happened. But at this point saying that they will be taking responsibility, but they will also be cooperating as far as investigations are concerned. We know that the department is also investigating this particular issue. So they're saying, Sally, that we should allow those investigations to be completed, after which they will then know exactly what happened. But what they are saying is that they have been complying. And in fact, the last maintenance that they've done on this mine was as early as June this year, where they found that they were actually in compliance and that there was nothing really that was problematic at the time when it comes to the water level. So they have really called for community members just to give the investigation a chance, saying, of course, if it does find against them, they are going to take full responsibility for what had happened here. But take a listen to what the spokesperson of the mine had to say.
Plant has got to take liability.
But Mr. Morris, I mean, how did we get here? Because community members are saying that there were warning signs, they were raising these issues to you, but nothing was done.
Look, community members, with respect, are not engineers. We had our engineering reports done and all that was done and put in place, and everything was done according to that. So I can show you pictures 4 days before the time of that specific wall that broke. You won't be able to recognize. So how they did, I'm not sure.
There are some who are saying that this might be gross negligence on the part of the mine. What do you say to that?
Well, if that is so, then obviously we'll have to wait for the investigation to be completed and for the necessary steps to be taken. Then if that is so, we must handle it, and the government will obviously, and the departments will act according to that.
Yeah, so they're basically saying they did everything they thought they were meant to. They'll wait for the outcome of a report. If it finds against them, then they will take responsibility. So it's not exactly, am I understanding it correctly? They're not saying they're taking full responsibility for this. They're basically saying in their view, they did what they should, but they will take responsibility if they are found after an investigation to be negligent.
Certainly, Sally, that's what the mine has indicated. Of course, at this particular point, what they are saying, Sally, is that they are cooperating with investigations. They've also, donated or given a sum of about 20 million rand to assist as far as aid is concerned, as far as shelter is concerned for those that are involved. So that as far as they will go at this particular stage. But of course, they will allow those investigations. They want those investigations to really find what was the cause of what had happened here. But the mine saying that as far as that is concerned, they'll wait for that report. Up until then, they are fingered as having full responsibility. That's only when then they will take that responsibility.
And just looking at the mud-covered car and the wreckage behind you, it looks like there was a volcanic explosion. It just looks like everything is covered in volcanic ash. It really is still quite a devastating scene. Thank you so much for bringing us the very latest on that story. And that, of course, is our reporter in the Free State, Manqoba Mchunu.